Yo, what is up guys? So we're here to go over the best guns in Apex Legends and how much damage they do and certain interesting interactions with certain attachments, as well as go over and give you guys that information that a lot of you guys want. Like, for example, what do some of these attachments do? Because it's kind of vague on exactly what the heck certain things do because it just says attachment slot. Now, we don't have the actual integers yet, but when that data comes out for the attachments, I will give you guys that in a future video. But I know a lot of people just want to know really quickly, like, what are the best guns in the game? Now, obviously, there is going to be some stuff that will be subjective in here. However, we can get two things out of the way that are objectively the best guns in the game. Now, as far as the shotguns go, the Mastiff is 100% the best shotgun in the game, no questions. The best sniper rifle in the game is going to be the Crabber 50 cal sniper rifle. These are gold weapons, they're kind of an exception, and they are very rare. And more than likely, you're not going to be seeing them in every single game. Now, I know there's just people that just really want, really quickly and just in an instant, what are the best guns in the game? And for those people that do want to watch and know exactly why that they're best, make sure you just watch the whole video because there's a lot of stuff that is really good information that I didn't know about. And while I was doing testing for multiple hours, doing different multipliers, because there's actually different headshot multipliers on different guns, which means normally most of the guns in this game will actually do 2 times damage in the head. However, there are guns that are going to be the exceptions. Mostly the shotguns have a lower multiplier, so there's actually very little incentive to go for headshots with the shotguns, with the exception of the Mastiff. And I'll go ahead and go into why each of these are the best in their category, but again, I will explain that in a second. But I know that there's people that just want to know really quickly what are the best guns. So again, these gold weapons, they're going to be the best, okay? This is the shotgun that will actually one-tap someone. This is a sniper rifle that will one-tap someone. Granted, it needs to be a headshot. Now, in this game, you can have 100 health, and then you can, on top of that, have 100 shields. So that's basically what we're going to be using as the integer for doing certain time to kills and all that kind of stuff in the game. We're going to basically assume our opponent is going to have 200, which means 100 HP, 100 shields. But anyways, for those integers, the best guns in the game are going to be in the shotgun category. Not counting this one because it's gold and they're very, very rare. The best shotgun in the game is going to be the Peacekeeper. The best AR in the game is going to be the 301 Carbine. The best submachine gun is going to be the R99. A lot of these really come down to the time to kill as well as accuracy and ease of use for majority of players. Now, as far as the best pistol in the game, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So the Wingman is actually the best pistol in the game if you happen to have the accuracy and you happen to have the attachment on this gun, which will allow you to do more headshot damage, which is the hop-up attachment. Different hop-ups will do different things for certain guns. It's kind of like the operator mod, if you will, if you played Call of Duty Black Ops 4. It's basically a very special attachment that can be specific to one certain gun category. For example, this one over here on the Wingman will actually make it so you deal increased damage for headshots, which can actually let you do more damage to someone, and you can just basically 2-tap them very consistently, if you're good enough with that, of course. Now, as far as the pistols go, I would say overall the RE45 is going to be one of the best pistols. Again, not counting that one. This is kind of one of those exceptions. As far as the LMG goes, the best LMG in the game is going to be the Devotion LMG. So that was kind of a quick summary, okay? Now, I have to go into why certain guns are better than others. Now, first off, I do need to also go ahead and go over something that needs to be explained, which is that guns do not have damage drop-off. They happen to have drop-off in how the projectile moves, as well as projectile speed. That is a very difficult integer. Those, I don't want to manually test those. Those we can run into a lot of problems when you're doing it by manually testing, so we're not going to be doing that in this video. What we're going to do is in the future, when the stats come out on Reddit, I'll give you guys that information. But to really sum it up over here, let's go ahead and grab a SMG, because how this game works is SMGs are better up close, and of course, you know, there's other guns that will be better at range. But some games, what they'll do is, to force them to be better at range, they will just make it so certain guns do less damage on range. So for example, right now we're using the alternator. I will go point blank up to this dummy over here. I will shoot him, and I will deal 13 points of damage. You can see the integer that goes up on screen. I also want to mention really quickly that if I continuously shoot a target, the number goes up. I'm not dealing 182 damage with that one shot. It's adding up all the numbers, so what I can do is call it to my teammates, I've hit him for 182 points of damage. It actually makes it quite easy to call out to your teammates. Now, like I said, there are a lot of attachments, and I'll explain what the attachments do, but I do want to explain this first because this is something that's very important. So remember, this gun does 13 points of damage. We can hit this target super far away and we'll still deal the same amount of damage. I'm not saying that with this gun you should try to go for shots, but I need to do this for explanation because it's very important to understand that bullets will go down over a long period of time. This doesn't really matter for like what's the best gun in the game because I already gave you guys that information as far as like ARs and stuff, because like I said, I know some people just want a quick little video and they're not really interested in the in-depth stuff. I'm interested in the in-depth stuff, so I want to go ahead and explain some of that because I've been testing stuff for hours. So anyways, if you go ahead and shoot this gun, you'll see I have to aim a little bit higher because the gun is going to have the bullet drop off at certain ranges, as in not the damage, but it's going to go down. So let's go ahead and shoot this over here, and you'll see I'll deal 13 points of damage. You can also technically see the bullet go down, and you can see where my reticle is. Another way to kind of see how the bullet is traveling is just kind of shoot up in the air. You can see it's going to arc down, and you can also see it. Like, it takes time for certain things to get from point A to point B. So now that that's out of the way, I kind of want to go over all of the damage integers and kind of go over some of the predictive recoil. So instead of it being random as far as recoil goes, certain guns will go a certain way. For example, the Spitfire. Now, I do normally play on PC with a controller, but due to the frames of this game's FPS changing on PC a lot, you just get like random frame integer changes. I am playing on a PS4 Pro, and it's consistently at 60, but keep in mind sometimes due to games just being released, there can be frame rounding issues for some of the time to kills. So we're not going to go ahead and give you that exact frames on time to kills, because again, those run into a lot of nightmares when you do stats, especially when you have to round frames. But basically, when you're firing a gun, the bloom is not going to be random. It actually is consistent. For example, the Spitfire will go in a zigzag pattern, and it'll always go up and to the left. We'll go ahead and shoot over here, and you guys can kind of see how that looks. Let's go ahead and just shoot right over here. And then I'll stop shooting, and you will see it always starts off over here in the center, and it'll go up and to the left. And then it'll go to the right, and it will do a zigzag. Let me go ahead and actually reload to kind of explain this. So you can learn the recoil in this game for different guns. So again, it's going to go up and to the left, and then to the right, up and to the left, up and to the right. It does a zigzag. So learning certain patterns can be really beneficial for you to actually be able to keep your shots on targets. So now that I've told you guys what are the best guns in the game, I kind of need to explain why, because certain damage integers will make it so it will require 1 or 2 less shots, depending on if you're hitting headshots or not, or if the gun is accurate enough to be able to try to hit headshots. So let's go ahead and just start off with the triple take. So this is supposed to kind of be like a sniper. It says that it's a triple barrel sniper rifle, which is interesting because when you shoot it, it shoots out 3, but they're super far apart. Now, in the training room, you don't have optics, and optics will obviously let you see things further away. But you can see where it is a little bit difficult to see because it comes out blue. But I'm gonna go ahead and shoot it over here so it's on a different background. But you can see that there's 3 that shoot out basically. And with this thing, the problem is on long distances you won't be landing all of your shots. This is actually more of a shotgun, honestly, than a sniper rifle. But if you happen to get a headshot with it, it can be very good, but only if you're super up close. Now, with this target, it's very large and people move around. It's very difficult to land it, so it's basically outclassed by the other snipers in the game. It's, like I said, more of a shotgun than anything. Now, the fire rate isn't super fast on it either, but speaking of fire rate, here's where we get into some interesting guns. So, this is the Devotion LMG, and with this gun, how it works is it fires faster over time. The reason why it's the best LMG in the game is because of its fire rate. Now, just as a heads up, the first 2 shots of this gun will actually have insanely high recoil. Now you can mitigate some of the recoil with certain attachments in the game that can reduce weapon sway or increase the fire rate of certain guns. Now the attachments, that's going to be a separate video in the future, so if you guys want to see that, definitely subscribe to the channel. That one's going to take a while to get done because it's very difficult to test that because you don't have like a custom game settings where you can actually put on the attachments and test out a lot of these numbers. And I don't know if they have actual interactions with drop off and other things in the game, because it's very difficult to test that while you're playing it at an actual normal game. Whereas this is more controlled, I can kind of test out certain things a lot easier. But anyways, this gun is going to fire faster over time. So you guys can see, if I just shoot over here, it's going to fire faster and faster over time. And since the LMGs have generally a larger magazine capacity, what you can do, and the reason why this gun would be the best, now the other gun is not bad at all. The Spitfire is still a very viable gun. In fact, most of the LMGs at the start are going to be prime guns, because certain guns will be better in certain circumstances, but I already gave you guys the best guns already, but there are times where certain guns will be better than other guns. But the Devotion over here, it's going to fire faster over time. So what you can do, and because LMGs have a larger magazine capacity, is you can hide behind cover. If you see them, you hide behind cover, you start shooting, and then you do the peek out. That's going to give you the fastest time to kill. Otherwise, the other LMG probably will be better for most people. But again, there's certain times where other strategies will work better than others. Now, I also want to mention on this one, because I'm going to give you guys the predictive recoil on some of the guns that I think are kind of more important to actually understand. This gun's first 2 shots, they're very high, but the rest of the shots in the gun, I'm going to go ahead and reload real quick, you can control very, very easy. So let's go ahead and just take this target over here. The first 2 shots, like I said, are very, very high in recoil. We were a little bit off over there, but overall, we were able to pretty much keep our shots on the target because it basically just drags up. Now, like I said, I do play with the keyboard and mouse, and I play with a controller, and it's pretty much going to be the same as far as the predictive recoil. I haven't noticed anything different from PS4 versus PC, but the reason why I'm doing this video on PS4 is because of the frame rate rounding with certain things. It just makes the video better too, because the game on PC has optimization issues. So yeah, we did both of those guns, and you guys can see the damage. I also wanted to mention really quick that every single gun, with the exception of shotguns, will have a different multiplier. So, for example, go ahead and do 17 damage, and in the head, 34. Every single gun, with the exception of the shotguns, as of right now, keep in mind there's going to be new guns in the future, and I'll also be covering those. They'll have a 2x multiplier. So here's the Wingman, and we don't have the attachment on this, but you can also see that the multiplier is the same. I'm not going to do that for every single gun, with the exception of the ones that I have to go over because it's a little bit different, and I have to kind of explain why. So, anyways, the attachment will increase your damage to the headshots, and you can 2-tap someone because obviously with 200 HP, well, 90 times 2 is still 180. But I also wanted to mention something really quick. In this game, there is a recentering, and there's also something called idle sway. So with certain attachments, like the stock in the game, you'll see that there's an attachment. It's right here. It's called the stock attachment. What the stock attachment does, it gives you faster handling and aim drift reduction. Aim drift reduction is when you're aiming down sights and the gun goes like this. It's weapon sway. So it's going to help out with that. You also have extended mag, which, well, that's pretty simple. It gives you extended mag, and then of course you have your optics, which is going to give you optics. Now, as far as I'm aware of, as far as what it explains in the game, as far as increasing and decreasing recoil, because that does exist in some of the Call of Duty games, and this game is made by Respawn, and certain attachments, just for visual appearance, they won't actually change anything. But I know in some of the Call of Duty games, the weapon accuracy will change from like 3 to 4%, which is very difficult to test. So we'll be making a future video for the attachments. But as far as I'm aware, it doesn't specify that there is recoil reduction depending on your reticle on your gun. But anyways, there's also another attachment that you can get for certain guns. It's called the hop-up attachment, and certain guns will have this where you can change how the gun fires. For example, this normally is a burst fire gun, which will shoot 5 shots. However, when you change, you basically get to put select fire on it, and it can go full auto. That's basically what it comes down to. which is another one of those things. It's kind of like an operator mod if you guys have played Black Ops 4. But moving on to the Spitfire over here, I just showed you guys that predicted recoil on this, but just to go ahead and kind of go over like the damage indicators. This one is a very solid gun. It is technically outclassed by the other one because of its fire rate. However, this one will have more of a steady rate of fire, especially in the very beginning. And on top of that, what's nice with this gun is since it does damage of 20 or 40 in the headshot, it's going to give you that 200 HP or 100 HP real easy with 5 to 10 shots, depending on, you know, your opponent. Next up, we've got the Longbow, and I'm just going to show you guys like the damage integers, because I think that's what a lot of people want to know, is how much damage does each gun do. Now, this one over here is another gun that can have that hop-up attachment where you can actually get increased headshot damage. So that can be very viable of a gun versus the other faster firing, like DMR, if you will, in the game. Go ahead and show the Prowler. Now, as far as the damage integers, I will, again, shoot targets so you guys can see how much damage certain things do. Some of the things are a little bit more difficult to test because they will just drag straight up with the recoil, which will lead you to a headshot. So with this gun over here, I would say it's really great to aim for like the chest or throat, because in the middle of it, you'll get like 1 or 2 headshots. But as far as the damage on this gun, it actually does 14 damage. So that's the information I'm going to be giving you guys for some of these burst guns. So it does fire in 5-round bursts. It's very difficult to get a lot of headshots with it though. The Hemlock is the burst gun in the game that will hit for 18. It's very difficult to hit moving targets, especially if they're very far away, with multiple shots. If you're playing on PC, this is a little bit easier because you can kind of drag much easier than you can on console, I would say, without missing your target. Even though, obviously, aim assist does help, it is kind of more difficult to use on console. And on PC, I think that this can be one of the better guns, if not one of the best ARs. But again, most people are going to consider the carbine the best because it's very consistent, and that's probably why a lot of people will consider it the best gun in the game. Now, as far as the VK47, just for the damage integers, 16, and then obviously multiplying that times 2, 32, so you guys get the damage integers on that. The reason why this gun, a lot of people do like this gun, I think it's because people just like AKs in games. The fire rate isn't what I would consider the most consistent compared to the time to kill on the other guns. Another thing I want to suggest for you guys, because I did mention that the best AR in the game was the carbine, and the best SMG in the game was the R99. Now, they both use, I'm just going to, for a simple explanation, I'm just going to call it the ammo orange. A lot of times it's great to have 2 different types of ammo so you can kind of recover ammo a lot faster from your opponents, meaning that you would use one gun that requires orange and let's say one gun that requires green, or one gun that requires like red, which is the shotgun shells. But just because something is an AR does not mean that it's an orange ammo type. I know that that was something that people were thinking about before, but yeah, just because it's in one category, like as in it uses orange ammo, that does not mean all the ARs are the same. It's just something I wanted to mention really quick. So as far as the P2020 versus the RE45, this gun actually is super outclassed by the RE45. So the RE45 is the full auto one. You can see over here, even if we land every single shot, we'll deal 120 points of damage, which if someone has just the basic level 1 armor, that will not put them down. But the RE45 over here, it will deal 1 less damage, but doing that specific 165 is going to be a huge difference. A lot of people in like early to mid game will only have white armor, which puts them at 150, and that's another integer that basically makes certain guns a lot more viable depending on how many shots you know, you're gonna need to land on someone. A really important integer, if you guys want to just go into the shooting range and just test out certain things, is to be able to get to 150 as well as 200. Those are the most important things to actually hit as far as a gun, and what makes a gun more viable than others. Because a lot of guns, if you miss 1 to 2 shots, you're not going to be able to actually finish them off, because in the very beginning, without extended mags, you just don't have the magazine size. So here is the R301. As far as the damage integers goes, 14 and 28. This is a really, really solid gun to actually down people from 150 or even getting them from 200. The reason why is because it's very consistent. The recoil on this gun, if I can just shoot over here. And again, keep in mind there is predictive recoil. but it's just straight up. This is going to be the go-to gun for majority of players, and the reason why it's the best gun is going to be because of its consistency that it offers. I mentioned before, if you grab some of the other guns and you get some of the other attachments, yes, they can outclass this gun, but for most people, they would consider it the best gun. And again, a lot of the integers, because of the amount of damage it deals, especially if you get one headshot, it really just makes a huge difference in the amount of shots and time to kill. The reason why the R99 is the best submachine gun is because submachine guns should be used up close. So this is the fastest firing gun as far as right now in the game. Just watch how fast you're going to be able to unload this clip. And it will deal, again, that 200 integer, which is very important for certain guns. But as far as the next gun over here, this is the G7. This is the other like DMR gun, if you will. Another very consistent gun, solid. I would say this is a really good DMR. Between the two DMRs, the difference really comes down to, do you have the attachments or not? So if you wanted the best... I know it says it's a sniper, but I really consider these DMRs, because even if you hit someone in the head, this one doesn't even have that attachment. You can get like barrel, you can get extended mag, and then you have your optics, and of course your stock, which is going to reduce the idle sway. You can't really notice the idle sway with this, because you'll have to zoom in to get super close, and unfortunately in this mode we can't really test out the scopes, but... yeah. Anyways, so as far as those guns go, all the damage multipliers are going to be 2x. Now, as far as things that are different in the game, the Moza over here is actually a little bit different. So, it actually shoots 3 pellets. The reason why you can tell it shoots 3 pellets is if you shoot something, you'll see those 3 little hit markers. That indicates 3 shots landed, which is going to deal 45 points of damage. Each pellet is going to actually deal 15 points of damage. But there's a different multiplier on the shotguns, which is usually about 1.5x. Let me go ahead and actually reload this real quick. And if you see in the headshot over here, we're going to go ahead and deal 66 points of damage. So that's a different multiplier than 2x. So as far as the Peacekeeper goes, the reason why I consider the Peacekeeper the best, because I mentioned it earlier, the Peacekeeper being the best shotgun in the game, is because it will consistently two-shot people. It actually will shoot out 11 pellets, and it will deal 110. And it will deal 65 to the head. So, you can see over here, we'll go perfectly for the headshot, and it'll deal 165. So, one easy way you can tell how many pellets there are in the gun that are hitting the headshots is some will be yellow, and some will be red. The red ones are the normal shots, and the yellows are the headshots. The reason why I really wanted to actually make this video is to test what guns would actually be viable for getting headshots with, because with this gun, if someone is at 175, meaning that they have either the blue armor or, well, it'd be full HP and blue armor, you wouldn't be able to one-shot them if they had blue or purple armor, so going for a headshot will only deal 165. The reason why I like the shotgun the most is because you can consistently two-shot them in the body. 110, 110. So, with one of the pellets missing, that gives you a little bit of leniency with being a little bit less accurate with your shot and still basically two-pumping someone. And that's why I consider this one of the best shotguns. But going for headshots is not completely worthless, but I don't really recommend it because a lot of times, unless it's in the early stages of the game, you're probably going to be better off, instead of trying to go for that very precise shot, unless you know you can pull it off, it's better just to go for the double body shot. So certain guns, I would say it's not as viable to get headshots with. Here is the EVA 8. The EVA, which is the auto shotty, is going to deal 7 per pellet here, and it's going to deal 63 damage to the body. So you guys can see that. And then in the headshot over here, again, a different multiplier. It's going to deal 90 to the head. So this one, it might be a little bit more viable to just, again, especially in the very beginning, just to go for double body shots, because that's going to give you that, what was that, 126 as far as damage goes. But yeah, this is the auto shotgun. It does fire a little bit faster, but overall I think the other shotgun will outclass it because you can peek and shoot shotguns. That's what you should be doing anyways. Now, I mentioned before that these are the best guns in the game. These are kind of in their own category, and this is something that's not really subjective at all. All the information that I give you guys is technically subjective, but I would say objectively we can argue via time to kill and consistency. That's one thing that's kind of hard to get in a video when you're trying to tell everyone what are the best guns, is obviously saying, you know, this is the best gun because it has this fast time to kill, but technically some guns can have a very fast time to kill, but they're super inaccurate and they're not very consistent. Like I said, that's why I would consider those the best guns. And that's also a question that you guys were asking on live stream. Hey, what's the best gun in the game? But anyways, 144 to the body, 288 to the head. This is the only shotgun that will actually one-shot in the head. And then we got the 250 on this one, and 125 in the body. Another thing I personally was wondering is if you could shoot with like a sniper, then swap to another gun, then swap back to the sniper. So I'm going to go ahead and like kind of show that off real quick. Let me go ahead and actually swap to like a full auto here, because I know a lot of you guys like in Fortnite to shoot once with something and then swap. That's like myself included. So if I was to shoot this and go over here and then go back to sniper to get the other shot, you still have to rechamber the round of the gun before you can actually shoot it again, which is unfortunate because this is not like a full auto sniper. I know the other guns, they say that they're a sniper. I mean, I can show you that real quick just for, of course, science purposes, and we'll see what happens. Again, this is more of a shotgun than anything. And I'll also show you guys rotating from, let's say, like a shotgun into a submachine gun, because those are the things that are very important in games, because not all the time do you always want to have like the same gun out for the full fight. So if I was to take the triple take, which is kind of like a shotgun, honestly, if I was to take this, shoot, go over here, shoot again, I can do that. It's pretty slow, but a lot of times what you guys will notice in this game is unless you have extended mags, you're usually not going to finish off your opponent with one magazine. So that is something that I would consider pretty important to actually be aware of in the game. I'm going to actually, I mean, I guess I can swap from this and then go to this and then do this. If you want to, you can do that. It's not that bad if you're pretty much out of ammo, but overall, the amount of time it takes for certain guns, let me go ahead and actually reload, because the Peacekeeper does require you to cock it. So if I was to shoot this, go ahead and go to this, shoot that, shoot this, and go back to the Peacekeeper, I have to again recock the gun, so, or reactivate it, whatever, because I know it's a what is it, lever action gun. It might be a better term for it. But anyways, there it is for you guys. I went over all the guns and basically showed you guys why I personally think that the guns that I showed you were the best. And it really comes down to consistency, but obviously there's going to be people that might think some guns are better, and you're not wrong. There are certain guns that would be better in different circumstances. I don't know. I don't remember if because I've actually recorded this video a few times because I wanted to make sure I got everything down. But the gold armor in this game does not increase their health. What it does is it lets you actually regenerate your shields fully if you happen to get a finisher, which is very rare anyways. But most of the integers that I've done in this video are all for 200 and 150, which I consider to be very common in the game, and those are the time to kills. I will probably make a video in the future that will go over the new guns, so if you are new to the channel and want to see that, make sure you hit subscribe. And if any of these things change, I will obviously update a video for you guys in the future. But there we go, guys. That is going to be the best guns in the game, as well as kind of a guide on certain recoil patterns that I've noticed. Like I said, some of them are easier than others, but definitely test it out. Definitely go into the shooting range just to kind of get a feel for it. Like I said, this one's always going to go up and to the left. Some guns will go straight up. A lot of the guns actually technically just go straight up, and you can definitely mitigate some of that. But anyways, hope this video helps you out. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it, because this took me a long time to actually go over the damage integers and basically the fastest time to kill. I could sit here with a timer, but again, the problem is frame integers and rounding out numbers, especially when you're only dealing with 60 FPS, because that's what you guys see on YouTube. We don't have the ability to stream or record and upload videos in like 144. But anyways, nonetheless, hope this video helps you out. If it did, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel and would like to see more Apex Legends content, hit the subscribe button and we'll definitely see more. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and peace out.